This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9, English news as it should be.
Hello there, thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi, and on the show tonight, a pivotal turning point for India's streets. No more crackdown on the strays. The Supreme Court, in its latest directive, has made it clear that compassion and order must go hand in hand. But will this spirit reach every street? Or does the weak link still lie in the execution and the implementation? Will public spaces finally be safer for both people and animals? Or is this just another law waiting to be ignored? The Apex Court's order is quite clear. Rabid or aggressive dogs will not be relocated. They will not be let off. The rest of them will be sterilized, vaccinated, dewormed, and then released back to the same localities where they were picked up from. Feeding of strays is now going to be a big no-no. It will be restricted to only the dedicated zones earmarked by the authorities. Municipal bodies must act quick and fast. Dog lovers must also be the watchdogs. And this interference has been prohibited. No individual or group is going to hinder the order's effective implementation. Now, crucially, the Supreme Court aims to extend this framework nationwide, pan-India, not just Delhi, and yet the challenge lies not in the laws. So is implementation really the chronic weak point? That's what we're discussing tonight. Multiple agencies, fragmented responsibilities, budgetary gaps, lack of resources, and the result, citizens living in fear, children getting mauled, and yet we only debate compassion. Budgets meant for sterilization go to salaries, shelters exist on paper, not in practice, vaccination targets are missed, and accountability, it's missing. And to bridge the gap between mercy and safety, the need of the hour is precise action. An action plan which is in place, and this could include mandatory anti-rabies vaccination for all the strays, clear guidelines for safe feeding zones, prompt response to aggressive dog complaints, active citizen involvement that includes the residential welfare associations and the community watch. Collaboration between the civic bodies and the NGOs is also crucial. And yes, technology like GPS tagging, applications to report the stray attacks. We need to digitize the entire aspect of it all. And if the rules are sufficient, but enforcement is weak, will India ever see safe public spaces where humans and strays can truly coexist? Or is this yet another case where the Supreme Court orders, but the ground realities remain unchanged? Joining me here on the broadcast, we've got S. Muralidharan, animal rights activist, and Swati Chauhan, who's a social worker. Let's get the ball rolling here with our guests here. Swati Chauhan, let me come to you real quickly. What is it that has not fit the bill from your perspective when we're looking at the Supreme Court's latest order? The animal lovers on the other side, they say, well, they're quite happy, it's quite balanced, several gray areas that still need to be decoded, but all in all, it's quite a balanced approach. You're somebody who's been on a dharna for, go against monkey menace and go against dog menace. So what really is the problem here now?
See, with due respect to the Honorable Supreme Court, I believe this order takes us back to square one. For the past so many decades, we've followed the sterilization and vaccination model, but nothing has helped. If it was truly effective, we wouldn't have been facing an ever-increasing stray dog population and a rise in dog bite.
No, you're right. You're making a point here, but just to understand, we've got about 10 lakh dogs in the national capital. We've got 20 ABC centers, and let's not confuse. To the viewers out there as well, I was, reporting from the ground today, from the ramparts of the Supreme Court, met some of the petitions as well. Let's first understand that these anti-birth control centers, they're not the same as shelters. So we don't have the capacity. That's number one. We've got 10 lakh dogs, but we don't have enough people to take care of them. And isn't the Supreme Court taking the step in the right direction when they call for accountability? All these NGOs and individuals will now have to cough up more money to stay in the loop of this entire legal battle. So many out there saying that this is a step in the right direction. We need to tackle it. It's a catastrophe, but we need to do it with compassion.
Exactly, I truly believe in that. I think we missed the bus. We missed an opportunity. The earlier order of Supreme Court, when it said that put all the dogs into the shelter house, I think that was a beautiful idea. With the public participation, public and private participation with the government agencies, it could have been managed beautifully.
All right. But, at the same point in time, what's your perspective of the 11th of August diktat? Were you okay with that? All the dogs being rounded up and thrown in a dog pound? Was that the right way to go from your perspective?
I think, there were 2 points in that, which I had mentioned earlier on also when I was on your show. Putting dogs all together in one go in 6 to 8 weeks is not doable. It should have been given some time, some more time, maybe 6 months time, maybe a year. And the second point, to start off with, it should have been done with sick dogs, dogs who are unwell, and aggressive dogs.
No,
It
that's a
should have
great
been
point. That's a great
started with
point.
that.
That's a great point, Swati. What I'm trying to understand is, do we have the money to carry something like that out? I mean, it would take about 11,000 crore rupees to build those many shelters to cater to all of these dogs. If we actually put in half of that money, less than half of that money, about 100 crore rupees in the sterilization, and really see the implementation of the ABC through and through, maybe that would be fiscally more prudent and actually help the humans coexist with the dogs on the streets.
I feel that, this order that came earlier on 11th August, the only point of contention that I felt was it should have been, the ban should have been a bit more.
All right.
That is the only way out. That is the only way out, I feel.
Okay, this is one side of the divide, viewers. We also have S. Muralidharan, animal rights activist. He's going to be with us very, very shortly. But in the meantime, right after the order was announced, it was put out and uploaded, everybody started talking about it. We had new headlines for the next news wheel. I got in touch with some of the petitioners. Now, I spoke to Divya Puri, who's the co-founder of the Karan Puri Foundation. I spoke to Ditej Garg, who's the founder of the Earthling Trust, and another one of those dog lovers. Got in touch with them to understand how they were looking at the new developments, this modified version of the 11th of August order, and what's the road ahead? How do we take this further? Is it the same old wine packaged in a new bottle, or are we taking the right steps in the right direction? Here's my conversation exclusively with the petitioners of this case. The ruling that came in today, the salient features, is there still some areas where you would want some clarification now? Because the Supreme Court says that the NGOs need to come here together. We have to meet each other halfway. And of course, there is going to be, it's been put into abeyance. The dogs that have been neutered, that have been vaccinated, are going to be released and into the same location. That seems to be a big win as far as all the critics of that August 11th order are concerned.
I think this is a very balanced order that has come out today. The most important feature is that, they are asking all the stakeholders to come intervene and help the government. We must understand that the government alone can't deal with this. They will need help from people like us, NGOs, smaller NGOs, feeders, everyone who's looking after the stray dogs. And the most important thing is that, they are releasing the dogs which were, captured illegally and just kept in shelters which are non-existent. They were just kept in ABC units, one top of the other. So I think this is a very balanced order which has come out. Yes, there are some grey areas for which we will seek clarification, but as of now, I'm very happy with the order.
How many dogs were picked up, when the August 11th order came in, and today, between the 11th of August order and what has come today, how many dogs were actually picked up, and where did they take them?
So the official statement from the mayor office is 1,200 dogs. So 1,200 dogs have definitely been picked up. They would be the dogs for which they have the documentation. But our estimate is anything between 1,500 to 1,800 dogs. And they have currently been kept in the 20 ABC units that are functioning, not shelters. We must keep in mind that Delhi government as of now has no shelters. So they are all kept in the ABC units.
Ditej, come in on this. The shelters, the problem of the numbers. Let's do a little bit of a number crunching here. How much of budget is allocated? How much of budget do we really need? How many dogs in the national capital? And how much money is needed to neuter them, catch them, vaccinate them, and then keep a tab on who's aggressive, who's not aggressive, who decides first and foremost what's a rabid dog and what's an aggressive dog, and then putting them out. Give us a number crunch here for the viewers to better understand what's really the problem and how do we solve it.
So in Delhi, there is an estimate that there are about 8 to 9 lakh dogs. Obviously, there has not been a census that has been done, so there is nothing, no way to know that for sure. But as an estimate, there are about 8 lakh dogs. And in Delhi, there are only 20 ABC centers. When we say ABC centers, it is specific. It is very, very important for people to understand that the infrastructure of a shelter is very different from an ABC center. An ABC center is a place where dogs are confined, they are operated, because they have to be released back in 5 to 7 days after recovery. In Delhi itself, there are only 20 ABC centers which can house about 80 to 90 dogs at a time. At a time, yes. And a dog in particular takes about 5 to 7 days to get neutered. So if all of them work tirelessly 365 days a year, they have about 70 to 72 cycles which they can do of sterilization. So you multiply 70 by about their capacity of 80 to 90 by 20 ABC centers. They have the infrastructure to neuter 1 lakh dogs as of now, which is very, very low.
And we have in the national capital about 8 to 10 lakh dogs, and undocumented number could be up above that.
Yes, yes. In fact, we were having a call with an expert, who did this mission rabies in Goa, and they were told that, when they came to Goa, they were told that there are only 30,000 dogs in Goa. But when they actually did the census and started vaccination, they had 1.5 lakh dogs, right? That's 5 times. So if, let's say, someone says there are 3 lakh dogs, it could be 15 lakh dogs. You never know.
So for the 8 lakh dogs in Delhi, how much money do we need?
I believe that if you have to do quality sterilizations, quality vaccinations and everything, and you don't want this problem to come back again and again, you need at least 25 to 3,000 rupees per dog. And you multiply it by 8 lakhs and you have the number. And obviously you can't neuter all the 8 lakh dogs at once, across a year, although that is what should be done because dogs multiply rapidly. They multiply like twice a year. So we need a way wherein, you're always up in the game.
When you're talking about the SC order that came in today, there was some sort of an olive branch that has been extended by the SC to the NGOs and the dog lovers. That how about we solve this problem, come down to the table together. What needs to be done now? Because people have been saying this seems to be the same old wine packaged in the same bottle, in a different bottle, and we're back at square one. Where do we move from here and where to?
See, the ABC rules, existing ABC rules have everything laid down. And so Supreme Court already has, a guideline to follow. And I think this would be very beneficial if local NGOs and, caretakers and feeders are included in this because they have knowledge ground level. Plus, as Ditej said, an MCD unit is very different from an NGO, right? So, whereas the NGOs are also doing this work. Local NGOs have been vaccinating, have been doing the sterilization program, the ABC program. So I think this is a good call where the Supreme Court has said that everybody, who they should be involved in this. And people who have the knowledge from ground level, they being part of this would be very beneficial.
Do you think the same amount of people will now come in, join hands with the NGOs, join hands with, like-minded people yourself? Do we have the wherewithal, the social fabric to take this forward?
Absolutely. I think instead of them coming to us, NGOs would have to reach out to them. There's not a single street where we don't have caretakers and feeders. And you have to keep in mind there are areas like urban villages. How does MCD plan to tackle this problem? You cannot, have your MCD vans going into Hosrani, Kotla, Mubarakpur, there you have to reach out to these feeders, and it would be very beneficial because these dogs recognize these feeders. They are comfortable with them. You don't have to use inhumane methods to catch them where, your vans cannot go as well. So definitely, and I would say that the local caretakers, feeders, they already have their families, they have their jobs. So we local NGOs need to map out the city, our areas, and reach out to them and seek their help. And it would be even more beneficial.
It's a 20-page order. It's a long order. Are there some areas that you still think are a little bit grey, that you are not, you think are still confusing a little bit?
Absolutely, there is gray area. And, those gray areas can actually, the gap between the haters and lovers, that can increase. So the order is not 100% in favor of the haters or the lovers. It's a very confusing order. And those gray areas need to be tackled as soon as possible. For example, saying that, you cannot feed dogs on the streets and you have to designate an area. Now, most of the dogs, 80% of the dogs, are on the streets, right? How do we reach out to the MCD, and how does an MCD decide where on the street or on the footpath you have to designate this area?
Who decides where the feeding areas are going to be created? And I mean, it sounds really funny in my head how I'm playing it out.
So, as per the order, MCD decides, right? Do our MCD people experts on that? They are not. So, obviously, they'll have to take inputs. Now, inputs will come from two different parties: people who feed dogs, people who hate dogs. Now, we'll have to understand how balanced will they be in their understanding of where feeding points should be. For example, if there is a block which has 4 different lanes, and we know dogs are territorial in nature, dogs from one lane do not go to other lanes, and vice versa. So we have to have, if there are 4 lanes, we have to have 4 feeding points. Now, structurally, is it possible that there are 4 secluded areas in those different four different lanes? Possibly not, right? So it is still an uphill battle. Yes, Supreme Court has specifically said, and I would reiterate, they said that feeding points will be designated basis the concentration and population of the dogs in a municipal ward. So obviously they are wary of the fact that you can't have one feeding point for 50 dogs.
Many thanks again to these guests for taking out their time and speaking to News 9 exclusively. Now, S. Muralidharan, animal rights activist, is also with us on the broadcast. But I'm going to again quickly go across to Swati Chauhan. Swati, you heard the dog lovers over there, the petitioners. Do you see them making a particular point? Are we heading somewhere? Are we going somewhere after this latest order?
The welcome point is the feeding points. It's a welcome note. But as one of the petitioner was saying, where do we get those feeding points?
Yeah.
Where are the feeding points? If I talk about my ward, it's a society, and you see there is not a single pocket where I can see a feeding point can be made, because the parks are there, the parking area is there, the gym is there. So it's all a highly populated area. So where do we find the designated feeding areas?
All right. I've come to you 3 times, Swatiji, and you've raised pertinent points. These are all problems. Next time we come across the board, maybe let's look at a solution that we bring to the table on the show. Because in these due deliberations, it's important that the viewers get something to take back home as well. Mr. Muralidharan, a very warm welcome to you. Many thanks for joining us here. Now, the Supreme Court says that the strays must be vaccinated, they must be dewormed and sterilized and then released back. But then citizens are still fearful. How do you reassure the citizens out at large after this latest order that compassion won't compromise their safety?
Nothing like that. See, what you need to understand, dog bites are a healthcare issue, and dogs defecating in tons of feces across the country. It's something like 30,000 tons they defecate a day. And you also talk about contagious diseases like rabies. Now, these 3 things: contagious diseases, hygiene, and healthcare. All these three are state issue, state list in the 7th schedule. So, if all these activists, they talk about ABC rules being implemented in the states can say no. These are state list, and this has to be any rule which has to be enacted It has to be enacted by the state and not by the center.
So then what
So
happened,
there is a
Mr. Muralidharan?
contention
Now,
there.
are we back at square one with the latest order?
They're going to, no. Supreme Court is going to throw these ABC rules out, and they're going to tell the same thing what they told earlier. Go to your high courts and find your solution, because this is not a solution. See,
No, but the Supreme Court today said that put all of these petitions together and bring it to this court, bring it to the apex court.
Yes, but now, yeah. Now we should also understand from 2009 to 2024, there was another case on the same issue, and at the end of it, the Supreme Court got pissed off and they said, "Go to your high courts and find a solution." Now that was what we did. We started going to the high court. Then suddenly this order from the two judge came. That's where the entire, what do you say, reversal happened. That's the reason they went to a three-judge bench, and all this happened. Now, the contention now is dogs are invasive species wherever they are, and they are detrimental to society. And as per Indian Constitution, animals do not have fundamental rights. It's the job of the state to take care of them. And these dogs cannot be on the streets and killing people, wiping out livestock, wiping out, small wildlife, and killing.
So then what do we do? What do we do? What do we do, Mr. Muralidharan? Because this idea was shot down. On the 11th of August, the Supreme Court said, wound them up, throw them in a dog pound. Everybody came on the streets.
Right now, they've given them a carrot to all these animal activists. They already said rabies and aggressive dogs to be removed. And tomorrow they will have to be.
That's another good one. Mr. Muralidharan, let me ask you this question. My apologies for interjecting back to back. Let me ask you this question. This was another question, and we were laughing over, teacups in the afternoon. How do you understand what dog is aggressive? Is a dog that starts barking when a two-wheeler goes past by, is that the aggressive dog? Or a dog that just simply growls, is that an aggressive dog? Who decides what dog is aggressive? And now people are talking about territories. So feeding point in a particular territory. Before election, you've got delimitation that happens for us humans, and maybe now we need to do that for dogs.
See, first of all, the feeding point, feeding in public space is a public nuisance according to the latest DNS. Section 270, 71, 72, it's a public nuisance. If there's a dog on the street and that dog attacks somebody, all these feeders should be thought responsible as per PNS 291. So the laws against them. There's a disability laws which says remove the people with disability should be able to access the roads without any barriers. And 3, contagious diseases. If the dog has any contagious diseases, it should not be in the street. So the law is very clear. It's
But
only
the
the
Supreme Court
ABC
today
rules
says,
pushed by Maneka Gandhi.
Supreme Court today says
Wait,
that
let
there
me
are going to be
finish this.
demarcated feeding points. You have to create them.
Exactly. No, where will you create? As these people said, dogs are territorial. They're not going to go to another place and eat. So that itself a challenge. They will have no choice. Supreme Court will have to take back. This is only an interim measure just to keep these animal activists happy, and they are coming to the street. As the Tushar Mehta, the Solicitor General said, he said there is a vast majority suffering in silence, but the vocal minority is in the courts, and they feel that 4 Supreme Court lawyers, senior lawyers, Manu Singhvi, Kapil Sibal, Siddharth Luthra, Siddharth Dave, these 4 people, just for that entrance in the court, they were charged 2 crores. Where did this money come from? This money comes from the vaccine mafia. You and me do know, in India, 80 lakh people are bitten by dog every year. 80 lakh into 2,000, we are talking about 1,600
So then how do we curb this mafia? If the Supreme Court doesn't come in, if the MCD doesn't pull up their socks, if the state governments and the local NGOs and of course the dog lovers out there don't see each other eye to eye, how do we solve this problem? Let me rephrase this, Mr. Muralidharan, and I'm going to take the same question to Swati. Do you think the SC order today, it prioritizes stray dogs over human safety?
Not at all. Not at all.
It doesn't, right? It doesn't. It doesn't. So we're talking about what next steps one can take. I'm just looking for solutions here, sir. I was looking at your own interviews last night, several of your interviews where you've spoken quite passionately about how castration affects a male dog differently and it affects a female dog absolutely differently. The operation is totally different.
Exactly.
So when we have these kind of problems right in front of us, what remedies do we have at our disposal? If the Supreme Court doesn't take so much cognizance.
See, 20 years we have tried this ABC. It has not worked. In fact, number of dogs have multiplied, number of deaths have increased, and today we have a crisis. And 2030, Mr. Modi ji has a commitment to WHO to make India rabies free. If he doesn't act now, in next 3 years, he has to do away with all these dogs. These dogs are suffering in the dogs. These animal rights activists, they have a problem. They think,
So if
keeping
the
these dogs
ABC has failed, then where do we go? If the ABC has failed, where do we go, sir?
ABC has to be scrapped completely. Dogs have to be taken in. They have to be humanely euthanized. That's the
Okay.
only solution I see, because they have suffered 20 years. People.
That's
are
going to be
talking
a
about
turning a
human
very
beings.
dangerous leaf. If you bring in euthanasia in here, I mean, imagine it was a simple diktat and people got down onto the streets. It's going to be a huge uproar, hue and cry over that particular issue. Swati, let me come to you next.
Who cares? The law of the land permits that. Law of the land permits you to euthanize. Animals do not have fundamental life. Human life is superior to dog life.
No, you're
And
right,
dogs
you're
are
right.
being
But
abused
wouldn't
in
that
the
tip
name
the scales of
ABC.
biology as well? Imagine tomorrow there are no dogs anywhere. No pet dogs, no
What
stray
about
dogs,
Western
no
countries?
dogs anywhere.
Which developed Western country has dogs? You tell me. You name one developed Western country which has dogs. None of them have. Wherever there's a lobby, like
I can
Turkey,
speak for
the
myself. I visited London last year. I saw dogs on the streets. And it was weird. I clicked a picture as well.
Somebody removed, taken to a shelter. Okay, you will hardly see any dog. You go to
Yeah, so
anywhere,
because they have the
you hardly
capacity,
see dogs.
they don't have as many dogs, number one, and they have the capacity to treat them. Maybe if these ABC centers, and Swati, this is my question to you, if we increase, let's say tomorrow, hypothetical situation, we've got 50 ABC centers in Delhi instead of 20, and everybody works round the clock. If we can increase the capacity, is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Mr. Muralidharan, a question for Swati first. A question for Swati. Let her answer this one. I'll come back to you. Let Swati answer.
We've seen ABC badly failing in the past 2 decades, and I don't see any hope happening because the numbers then and numbers now have drastically increased. So I don't see ABC as the option at the moment. After the 11th August verdict, many people argued that there wasn't enough space for dog shelters. But I think instead of dismissing the idea, dog lovers who filed the appeal could have actually worked with the government in a public-private partnership. I'm coming to
That's
this
what
because
was missing.
you said...
That's what was missing,
Yeah.
Swati. And I think that's the word on the ground because I've been speaking to so many people. That's what was missing. And with that, it
Exactly.
seems like I've completely run out of time here on this particular show. I'm going to give the final 20 seconds to Mr. Muralidharan. Final 20 seconds, Mr. Muralidharan.
Yeah, final 30 seconds. I can tell you, you could start, humanly euthanizing. First, you start with aggressive dogs. Then you take
Humanely
in all
euthanizing?
the sick and old
I'm
dogs.
sorry, I have to break
You
out
move
into
the
a
populace.
laughter.
This is
Humanely
start from-
euthanizing.
Humanely euthanizing. Euthanizing, it's not a difficult thing. Today, we don't even call it euthanize. We call it PTS, put to sleep. It's a painless method of, putting a dog to sleep. It is the most humane method because they have killed more dogs in the last 20 years, more than human beings. The dogs have suffered with the ABC because India, we don't have that many number of surgeons. Tomorrow, let's say we want to do 6 crore dogs to ABC. We don't have that many surgeons in India. So most of them are quacks.
Okay.
They have killed
All right.
dogs. And initially, before 2019, they only paid 140 rupees per surgery. That's the kind of money they got. Now I think they get
That budget
1,000
has
rupees.
to be
Even
increased.
that
You're right.
includes
Budget
anesthesia,
is a
all
major
that put
problem.
together.
But I again think that euthanizing and culling all dogs at large is going to be a little bit of a biological catastrophe. But not discounting any of the points that you have raised here, Mr. Muralidharan and Swati Chauhan, social worker. Many thanks for joining us here on the broadcast. To all my petitioners who joined here as well. Between compassion and caution, India continues to wrestle with its stray dog dilemma. The Supreme Court has spoken, but the last word is definitely going to be on the street, and that word is still far from settled. That's all that we have for you in your interest today. We're going to see you again next week. Many thanks for watching.